We move on to Uruguay. It's halfway to legalizing marijuana. A bill has been approved by the lower house of parliament. If the Senate also agrees, then it becomes law. That would make Uruguay the first country in the world to regulate the production, distribution and sale of marijuana. President Jose Mujica's government says the law will undermine illegal drug dealing by taking away profits from the dealers. Here's Wendy Urquhart.
Pro-marijuana activists peered over the balcony as the fierce debate raged on the House floor below. After more than 13 hours of exhaustive wrangling, it was decided. They had voted to legalize the buying and selling of marijuana by 50 votes to 36. This bill was President Jose Mujica's idea. He firmly believes that if the state controls every aspect of marijuana production, from the planting to the harvest, the storage, distribution and sales, that the drug dealers operating in Uruguay will be shut down and his country will be a safer place. But there's rules attached to this bill too. The drug can only be sold by places that are licensed. You have to be 18 to buy the drug and you have to be registered with the Uruguayan government. Users will also be allowed to grow up to 6 cannabis plants in their own home, or they can buy up to 40 grams a month from cannabis clubs or pharmacies. But anyone caught carrying, growing or selling it without a license could go to jail for a very long time. Wendy Urquhart, BBC News.
Well, John Walsh is a drugs policy expert from the human rights organisation Washington office on Latin America. When he joined me, I asked how much of an example Uruguay is setting on legalising marijuana and dealing with drug abuse and use.
It was a very big deal, the vote yesterday, which is another marathon session, because it does put Uruguay on the path to being the first modern nation to legalize and regulate cannabis. There have been states in the United States, Colorado and Washington, that took similar steps, but there are international treaties that explicitly make this difficult, if not impossible. So Uruguay is taking a very brave first step.
What's your view, though, about you were representing a human rights organisation, about the fact that there are deep concerns about where this will now lead, both in Latin America and globally?
Well, I think this began with deep concerns about where we already are, and those concerns are stimulated by a prohibitionist system that creates gigantic black markets for illicit drugs that are in criminal hands. The question is, are there better ways to deal with the real issue of drug use than a pure prohibitionist system? Uruguay is going to try.
What is the importance of Uruguay in the production and the distribution of marijuana? How significant or not is it?
It is not significant for other countries. Most of Uruguay's cannabis, which is clearly its biggest illicit drug use issue, comes from other countries now, mostly from Paraguay and from Brazil. Uruguay itself is not a big exporter of cannabis. The question is, can they replace that imported cannabis from other countries with their own domestic production in a legal and regulated manner? And they're betting that they can.
John Walsh in Washington.